Hey, good morning. Welcome to Optimize Your Career. My name's Ed Samuel. I'm a career coach and glad to be with you this morning. We're going to be talking about networking, but before we do, we had a couple of questions from last week's program or a program a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about your personality and interviewing. So I want to kind of cover those two questions that came in, and then we'll jump into networking. So I got a question from Brian from Newark, Delaware. Brian asked the question, hey, I was told that when I go in for an interview, just tell them what they want to hear and forget who I really am. Is that really the right approach? So it's a great question. I get asked that every now and again, and my answer to that is no. Don't tell them what they want to hear. I'm much more focused on authenticity during an interview. In fact, last week, one of the global CEOs of one of the largest firms in the world was interviewed by, I believe, the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. And that person was asked the question, when you're interviewing someone, what are you looking for? What's that key thing during an interview? And that person said, for our firm, which is a $100 billion plus firm, the one thing that we look for more than anything else is authenticity. So it's something that not only what I believe, but a lot of leaders of firms are looking for that. The other thing is that really strong hiring managers, really strong leaders, they sniff out packaged answers as a rule. So stay away from packaged answers. The other thing that I don't like is that when you start to talk with words that really aren't you, it's kind of based on a fear basis. I'm much more focused on asking you to talk about, what's the personality that you bring to the table, because that given personality, those were the pistons that drove your engine for so long that were responsible for your success on all those accomplishments on your resume. So talk to them. And let's just say you went in and you did package things and you did trick them. What ends up happening is that, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, you find that the person who hired you is looking at you saying, wait a minute, you're not the person I interviewed and I wanted X and you're giving me Y. And the next thing you know, you're going down a road that could be really rocky. So that's my answer to that question. And obviously if you're authentic and they like that and you like them and they like you and you get the job, then it's a win-win all the way around. Now, here's one more question I got from Susan from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Her question was, I did a personality assessment as part of a job interview, and they didn't share the results with me. It feels like they have one up on me. And when I go to that next round of interviews, what do you say I should do? So here's the answer. As a rule, for every 20 people I see taking a personality assessment as part of an interview process, I might see one person get the results back. And unfortunately, some of it is because they really do want to have the one up on you. They really want to have the advantage of knowing a bit about you. And they use those answers to poke at some areas that you might be weak in. And some states are not allowed to use personality assessments for a legal reason, and they don't want to share it with you because they do not want to expose themselves from any type of liability in case you don't get the job, and they think it's because of those personality assessments. So there's a lot of reasons, but what I spoke about last week, to get ahead of this curve, take a personality assessment. We have one at my company called a DISC Personality ID. It's 18 blended profiles. I've done this for virtually every client that I've worked with. And what this does, it gives you a glimpse as the type of data that those employers are going to see on their assessments. And it gives you the inside scoop about the types of questions they might ask. So that's the answer. All right, well, let's move on to networking. This topic is so important, networking in terms of optimizing your career. I teach classes, literally 2+ hour classes just on the basics of networking, let alone advanced networking. But in almost every class I teach, I talk about principles of networking. And if you don't buy into the principles, you have a really hard time executing the actions that are required to network well. Now, one rule that I talk about often is the 90% rule of networking. And that 90% rule is 90% of the time, your next job, your next opportunity is going to be made not because of the person you're directly connected to, but who they are connected to. So if you're only looking to bring people around you that are going to actually be the person who will be the decision maker, you're making a giant mistake, because that's only going to help you about 10% of the time. The other 90% are the people who are going to really help you. And then that's one reason why you want to build a network around you. The other reason is that if you're unemployed, statistically, somewhere between 65% and 85% of all jobs that are filled in the U.S. are filled because of networking. I literally worked for a firm, and with 3,000 people over a 2-year period that were hired, I will tell you 52% was directly due to networking. 52%. That means when a job was posted, this particular employer knew exactly who they were going to call, and they asked them to apply for the job, and they were brought in first, and 52% of the time they were hired versus just anybody on the internet applying for a job. Now, the other principle is the more you're connected, the more you have the leverage. I talk to people who have a network. They just left a company and they have a network of 80 people. Then I talk to someone else. They have a network of 800 people. You have a chance to network a whole lot more with that 800 than you will with 80. Now, again, the quality of the network is important as well. But now the other thing is, I beg people to take your informal networks and make them formal. That's another key principle here. LinkedIn, Twitter, but LinkedIn primarily, since so many employers and companies are using LinkedIn as a vehicle. Build your network. It's free. You can build your formal network on LinkedIn. I'll do a program just on LinkedIn at some point, but take an informal network and make it formal, and then use something like LinkedIn and Twitter to expand and build that network. One other thing that you want to keep in mind, and there's a group of people out there called intrinsic networkers. Sometimes they're called open networkers, but there are a group of people now, because of the existence of social media, they network and they build networks simply to help other people. And they might ask for help, but they're not necessarily making that part of the bargain when they network with you, when they connect with you. And yes, I know there are some people I've worked with who say, I'm only going to connect with a person I personally know and I've had a cup of coffee with. But yet there are other people, and I've seen hundreds of examples where they're going to network with you. You may not know them, but they really seem legitimate. You connect with them, and next thing you know, 2 years later, they're helping you land a job, and you never even met the person. And that's a part of that, is that there's a lot of good out there, and social media has allowed us to connect with a lot of the good and not get and we shouldn't get completely distracted by that 1 or 2% of the bad. So these principles of networking are just huge as you think about why should I build a network. Now there's 3 stages that I want to talk about when it comes to networking in your career. First stage is when you're employed. The second stage is when you're not employed or you lost your job, you're in transition. And then the third stage is you own a business and you're selling or promoting something. These are commonly the 3 stages. And I'll save nonprofits for a different program, but let's just talk about when you're employed. And I could certainly talk about my story. I worked for corporate America for close to 29 years. And when I left corporate America, I had my buds. I had, the people that would help me, rise through the ranks over the years. And they were maybe, 4, 5, 6 people. They were my go-to people. But when they tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, you're no longer with corporate America, you're getting laid off, I found myself literally with no network. They were my only network. In fact, when I got laid off, I had no LinkedIn account. I knew 6 people that were my go-to people, and now I'm unemployed. That's a mistake. And I beg those people that are listening, if you're employed and you don't have a LinkedIn account and you're not thinking about building your network, it's a huge mistake, and it's going to cost you time and money if you ever find yourself unemployed. And many people looked at me and say, well, I don't need LinkedIn. I don't need this. I don't need that. And those same people are coming to me 2 years later saying, Ed, you can't believe it. I was just tapped on the shoulder out of the blue. Now, the best time to build a formal network is when you're working. And again, there's a big difference. I work with a lot of people who are in job transition. I just worked with a person the other day. He had 8 connections after 20 years. 8 people formally on a LinkedIn network. And I met somebody else with 20 years. They had 1,000 connections. Again, it's a big advantage when you have more people to leverage. The other thing, when you're employed, I beg you, join a professional organization. And these professional organizations, I'm talking about in what you specialize in, whether it be logistics, whether it be marketing, whether it be IT auditing, whether it be finance. Join those specialized organizations and then start to build that informal network or that formal network outside of your company. And some of these organizations you could pay as little as $50 a year. Some are more expensive, and sometimes firms will pay for it. But when you go to those organizations, connect with people, build that formal organization. And then lastly, join an organization that's cross-functional in nature. It doesn't necessarily have to be in what you specialize, but join an organization where there's a mix of people. They're employed, unemployed, so that you can continue to build a community that's larger than that circle of influence for the company that you work for. So this whole idea of networking when you're employed, something that I urge people to do when they're working, and don't slow down. Now, the second group I want to talk about is the people that are unemployed. Now, this is where networking becomes even more important. You need to build formal network, again, using LinkedIn. And, and when you think about networking and you become unemployed, who do you want to network with? Well, I'm a big believer that you network with everybody that you know. And there are three groups of people that I talk about often. One is your power network. These are people that, love you dearly, and they'll do anything they can for you. And the people that have worked with you in some capacity, whether inside work, outside work, but they've worked with you in some capacity. And then there are people who are acquaintances, people that really know you, say hello to you, you know them. You have the opportunity to connect and have them part of your network. And again, if you use the 90% rule of networking, you have to remember that those people may not help you land that next job, but the people that they know may help you land that next job. And that's that whole rule of thumb. When I talk to people who are unemployed, I say, every once in a while in life, it comes along, you have the opportunity to do something rarely. And that rare action is that I love to see people connect with every human being they've ever met in their lifetime that's still a friend that's on LinkedIn. Why not? You have the opportunity. In fact, there are some people I coach, I say, hey, the first 1 week, don't do anything other than connect with every human being that you know on LinkedIn who's a friend of yours, that they would not, say they didn't know you. That's about how you go about building a network, even people that you went to high school with. And I can give you an example. One person said, I'm not going to do that, Ed. And I said, well, just trust me, do it. And this person went ahead and they linked up with some people they found on LinkedIn from high school. Guess who one of the people they linked up with was? That person, too. There were two people. One of them was a plant manager now. And guess who went to go work for the plant manager? And it would never have happened if they didn't open up their horizon outside their just inner circle of people around them, because that person went out and they said, well, hey, we just happen to have an opening. One other example. There's an example of a person said, hey, Ed, I'm going to connect with some people, but this person wants to connect with me, and he's from India. And this was in the financial services world. And I said, well, go ahead and connect with the person. Well, they're never going to help me. Never. And I said, well, let's just try it. Let's go ahead and connect with the person from India. And the person did. 2 days later, they get a note back from the person from India. Do you know both of his brothers were executives of banks in Philadelphia? And guess who went for an interview the following week? So when you talk about, hey, it's just the inner circle, when you're unemployed, connect with everyone, because a lot of good things can happen. And one last example, I've just thought of another one here that, one day in the church that I belong to, it's a big church, 1,000 people, 600, 700, 8,000 people. And I sat there once Saturday afternoon. I said, I'm not connected to anybody at my church. Now, I don't work with them, but they all know me. And I sat there and I connected with probably 100 people at my church. And about 90% of them connected with me on LinkedIn. And, some of those relationships have actually helped clients of mine and myself over the years. And I did that about 13 years ago. So these are some examples of when you're unemployed, things I would love to see you do. And there's a lot of networking forums in the greater Philadelphia area. In fact, Philadelphia is probably one of the best networking networks, if you will, in the country. And I've been into a lot of cities, and there's no less than 20 that people can tap into Technical Professional Networking Group, the Financial Executive Networking Group, which I'll be speaking at the beginning of September, Business Executive Networking Group, and another group, one of the fastest growing groups called CPANG, Career Professional Executive Networking Group. In fact, the president of CPANG is going to be on the program this morning, and she's going to be in studio talking to us here next. So we're going to take a minute, and we're going to introduce Angel Peluso, president of Career Professionals Executive Networking Group, also known as CPANG. Angel, so happy you're with us this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, Angel, let's kind of start things off by, tell me something about CPANG. When did it start? Why did it start? Give us a little bit of the history.
Well, I'd be happy to tell you. CPANG was started by 6 individuals that were very familiar with networking, executive networking. We had all been in a networking group together in the part of the network, also very hands-on active, as we all were facilitators or peers in different locations. And that was in the early 2000s up until 2014. In 2014, 6 of us, 5 people that are now facilitators, and the 6th person, a webmaster, my husband, Tony Peluso, decided to start CPANG with the idea we all appeared to have felt the same things. We all had the same vision, the same mission, which was to help expand executives with networking, meeting their peers, reaching their goals, assisting them in their next career move. So we got together, we formed this association, we did the things that we needed to do legally, and here we are going on to our 5th year, highly successful and growing. We are close to, I think we're around 200 members now, 7 locations, and doing well. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Well, beautiful. So what makes CPANG different? I know in Greater Philadelphia, there's a lot of networking forums. And what's, maybe, 1 or 2 things that really make CPANG stand out or different than the other networking forums?
Well, I think the most difference is, we like to the networking group with heart, and that's exactly what it is, because we come from a place we're not here. You go to you mentioned that there's so many networking groups in Philadelphia. Well, that's true all over the state of Pennsylvania. There are networking pockets, but we're a little different because we really try to get to know and build relationships with each other. I've been in groups where you go and have a coffee and a donut, and part of the requirement is you have to come with 3 leads and hand them to the person on your right. Well, I don't know the person on my right is, and why would I give them a lead? I don't know if it's going to match what their needs are. I need to know that person, talk to that person, understand what that person needs and wants, and what their goals and expectations are. So that's where we're different with time. We're not looking for quantity. We're looking for quality, because that's how we found is the key to helping us grow, and whatever their needs are, whether it be if they're in transition and they're newly in transition and it's like, hey, I've worked for the same company for years. I haven't had a resume in 25 years. I need help. So we have people that are glad to lend a volunteer hand to help that person. We have meetings that specifically talk to people about the do's and don'ts of transition and how to introduce them to the right individuals and companies that they're looking to target if they can move on in that direction. So we have members that are business owners that are starting their business or growing their business. We assist them, in any capacity that we can, just by kind of like advertising on our website. Because they're members, they're business owners. We like to help our members. They're good people growing their business. So we're very multifaceted, multidisciplined. We have members that are in IT, in finance, in marketing, health, logistics, warehousing, you name it, mid to senior level executives that are looking to grow their network.
So, Angel, so is everybody invited to CPANG, or what's the criteria to join CPANG or to attend a meeting?
Well, here's our criteria to be a member, and it's on our website. If you go to our website or under the join heading, you need to have a 4-year degree is preferred. But not necessary if you meet other criteria. We like you to have executive management experience. We're talking about C-level, vice president, president, director. Plus, we like you to have 5 years of middle management experience with direct reports, so that you understand you've climbed up the leadership role, and you have a broad perspective on things, and of course a resume. And our annual dues are $52 per year, which is $1 a week. Bill is extremely conservative for the amount of camaraderie and help, and just being with other people like yourself. So we feel that that's conservative. So that's pretty much it.
Angel, can you tell me, you mentioned 7 geographic areas. What are some of the areas in the region that you serve?
Okay, we're in Harrisburg. These are all intensive. Harrisburg, York, Lancaster, Reading, Exton, Bluebell, and then of course we have Newark there, which of course you're very familiar with, Ed, since you are facilitator there. And later this year we're looking to open a new location, which we'll be announcing in the next month or so, 2 months or so.
Great.
So, we have meetings there in all of these locations once a month, and then we do have socials.
Can a person attend multiple CPANG meetings across the area, or are they assigned just one place to meet?
What's generally happening is you hear about CPANG in a number of different ways, either by, being online, searching, keywords like networking PA, and you find us that way, or word of mouth, where you go to another networking meeting, and they talk about it as a good place for you to go if you're in transition or looking to expand your business or build your network. And that's pretty much how you can go to, if you're a member, we have 7 locations, and you're more than welcome to go to 7 meetings a month, because you're going to get people at each of those locations. For instance, I facilitate in the York area. I do get people from but very rarely. Normally I'll get people from Reading, Lancaster, Delaware, on a consistent basis because it's a little, but the people in Philadelphia sometimes, if they're working, can't make my meeting at 6 o'clock. They'll come to the socials, maybe they'll get off early, but a regular person that's working isn't going to be able to make my meeting at 6. So they'll go to the meetings that are within an hour drive of where they live or where they work. But everybody's welcome to every social and every meeting.
Where does somebody go, Angel, to find information about CPANG? What's the website address and to direct people to?
All right, it's for our website, it's www.cpanggroup.org.
So it's
cpanggroup.org.
Gotcha. So that's cpengroup.org.
That's correct.
All right, beautiful.
Yes.
Well, hey, Angel, congratulations to the continued success of CPANG and the fact that it's growing and making a difference in the lives of many, hundreds and hundreds of people. It's a real blessing to the region. And I want to thank you for coming on this morning. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. Okay, so let's recap what we talked about this morning. Remember the 90% rule of networking. Number 1, 2, build your formal network using LinkedIn, especially when you're working. Number 3, connect with everyone you know on planet Earth. Do it at least one time in your life. Number 4, join a professional organization in your field and build that network. It also looks good on your resume, by the way. Join an ongoing network forum like CPANG. A very good example we heard this morning. And do not underestimate the need to grow your network when running a business, whether it be big or small. So Please join us for our next program on Saturday, August 25th at 8 a.m. We're going to focus on the world of internal recruiters, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and helping or not helping you optimize your career. You'll also be joined by a very experienced internal recruiter in the region to share his perspective. This again is Ed Samuel, career coach with Sam Nova. Our website is www.samnovainc.com. If you'd like to reach me with a question or comment, email me at esamuel@samnovainc.com or call our main number at 610-274-8214. Make it a great weekend. So long for now. God bless.